In 2001, the state of Mississippi voted to fly the current state flag. But in 2015, Dr. Rodney Bennett, president of the University of Southern Mississippi, decided not to fly the state flag. Instead, 3 U.S. flags fly at the front of campus. Bennett says his reason is, and I quote, to remind the university community of what unites us, end quote. It is now 4 years after this decision, and people are still divided on this issue. Let's talk about these political tensions and how to make Southern Miss campus a more inclusive environment to all, here on Southern Summarized.
We're against the USM president, Dr. Bennett, taking the flag down at USM.
Oh, I've been aware of that since day one, for 224 weeks. I know there's a controversy.
The predominant issue in it is that Mississippi is the only state in the Union currently that still has the Confederate flag in the state flag.
There needs to be a change, but it shouldn't go too far from the norm. There should be some representation of the past that the flag currently stands for.
My personal view on the Mississippi state flag would be that we need a new one. I think that kindness is something that people often forget is a thing. And if someone comes to me and says, like, hey, like, you hurt my feelings this way, I'm offended in this manner, and can we work on steps to, like, agree and come together on something so we can both be happy? Like, I think that's so much more important than holding on to beliefs that have nothing to do with today's time and present.
The flag, it's our state flag. It's the only representation that the people, as a state, have on this campus.
I feel like it represents all Mississippians. Now, how they feel, I don't know. I can't speak for them, but it is the official Mississippi flag.
Just because it's not being flown doesn't mean that it's not still our flag.
I think that our school officials have done everything that they could to kind of take us that next step forward, instead of kind of staying with the norm and kind of not, being too afraid to say something or stand up to whoever may be doing something.
By taking down the flag, we do include a lot more people, and we are a diverse campus, but at the same time, we also have to acknowledge the fact that there are a lot of people on this campus that still believe in that flag.
There's a lot of things people don't like, but just because you don't like something don't mean that it's not there, or it's not, what should be, because what should be is this flag should be flying right there on that pole. And the USM, the regular USM flag should be flying on the right. There shouldn't be 3 US flags up there.
So what do you guys think? Let us know and follow us on social media. I'm Keisha G, and this has been Southern Summarized. Art comes in many forms and remains a positive outlet for self-expression among individuals at the University of Southern Mississippi. The School of Performing and Visual Arts strive to create a community where students can interact and study in programs such as graphic design, sculpture, dance performance, dance education, theater, and theater design and technology. These all play important roles in a learning environment and go beyond the traditional limitations of education. Let's talk about the importance of performing and visual arts and why it is so important for students and faculty alike here on Southern Summarized.
Visual and performing arts, it's about collaboration. It's finding people that you like to work with, and then bringing in sometimes people you don't like to work with, but bringing them together and bringing all these different viewpoints and exploring a topic, and then creating something and making that available to the world.
A lot of people don't realize exactly how much the performing and visual arts affects our day-to-day life. Without theater, you wouldn't have had all of this stuff come about. Right, so it started back in ancient Greece, and you had all these plays and everything. That was the form of communication. That was what brought people together, and it created a community. And so you take that to modern times now, and performing and visual arts still creates community.
My favorite thing is just like the creativity and the freedom that comes with it. We're all here to be creative and to make something that's unique and special and interesting.
A lot of times things can get really stressful really quick, and some people don't know exactly how to express it, and I think that's where arts can really come in.
We try to talk to as many people as we can. You know, the more people you talk to and the more you get your voice out, the more impact you have. But we try to have a wide-ranging view so that we're not just, one view.
If you're ever going through that sense of just overwhelming, when you turn to the creativity side, it's like a healthy way to relieve it. And I think that's super important to anyone in any major or any field, is having some form of release.
It brings people together simply because that's what it was designed to do. It was designed to create communities and create something for people to watch and enjoy.
So much of our life is dominated by media, but if you don't have theater, you don't have those people going out and putting shows on Netflix or moving on to movies. You don't have any of that. Man, life would be boring if we didn't have stuff to look at. Like, if we all had one white wall to look at, how boring would that be?
So what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to follow us on social media. I'm Keisha G, and this has been Southern Summarized. College can be stressful, and everyday students are looking for unique ways to improve their mental health. The University of Southern Mississippi's Department of Housing and Residence Life worked closely with the Office for Disability Accommodations to offer housing for emotional support animals. This option creates a safe environment and mental safe space for those who might need assistance. Let's talk about the increase of emotional support animals and how these animals give USM residents a new meaning to college life. Here on Southern Summarized.
Emotional support animal, what they do, provide companionship for students when they feel like they're overwhelmed, maybe possibly suffer from anxiety, depression, or other things like that.
It covers pretty much any type of animal. Currently on campus, I know we have everything from dogs to a ferret and a gerbil.
It's more of a medication type thing. It's not just for, personal reasons. It really is just to help people.
Emotional support animals can't really be taken anywhere on campus, whereas service animals, of course, they can be taken everywhere. We can't ask questions, we can't kind of dig in. In emotional support animals, there's more kind of conversation and approval process and things like that.
First, they go to the Office of Disability Accommodations. Then once they get approval, then they are, directed to contact me. Usually I contact them first. And I set up an appointment with them, and what we do, we go through a list of things that are responsibilities that they need to know in the protocols in having an emotional support animal in the halls.
They help give a purpose for you. So like for me, I struggle with depression, and he gives me a reason to get out of bed and do everyday tasks because I have to take care of something else instead of myself.
I think especially for residents that have tried other therapy plans or other medical needs and they haven't been successful, I think an animal can sometimes help for the fact that it requires them to do something, especially for our students struggling with anxiety and depression. It gives them something to focus on. They have to get up out of bed to take the animal out. They have to do certain things. So having to care for someone else can sometimes help the brain rewire itself for them to care for themselves as well.
Being allowed to have B be part of my every day is it's her purpose. And so she allows me when things are bad with school or things are bad with people in the house or just people in general, she's here for me because it's really hard to make your space in college anyway. And so especially when you're sad and it can get really depressing in your dorm room.
The biggest misconception about ESAs, definitely either that they're a pet or that they don't do anything and that they're not trained animals, but they do have service animal in their title. So he is definitely trained to do specific tasks that I need him to do.
I do think they are necessary because it is a recognized form of treatment for certain issues, and saying they're unnecessary is similar in my mind to saying some people don't need medication.
As the stigma of mental health and all of that comes down, we're going to see an uptick in both service animals and ESAs, so they should be here for a while, whether we realized that or not originally.
ESAs do have a purpose. It just might not be what you expect it to be for, but they do have a purpose.
So what do you guys think? Let us know and make sure to follow us on social media. I'm Keisha G, and this has been Southern Summarized. The University of Southern Mississippi is one of the many universities that have converted to online formats for communication and education wherever possible. At this time, all access and operations at the university are limited at all locations. This limited access has pushed both faculty and students to an alternative online environment. Let's talk about COVID-19 so far and how it has impacted students and faculty personally and educationally here on Southern Summarized.
COVID is a virus that started in Wuhan, China, and it spread very quickly to surrounding countries, including the United States. And because it's spreading so quickly and there is no cure, it's called a pandemic.
It's something that is affecting all of us and really impacting the daily lives, not just us in the United States, but globally. I think for me, it makes me reflect on what it means to be a global citizen and not just like a US citizen.
At the beginning, I really didn't think too much of it just because, they were like, it's like the flu. If you have a good immune system, you don't have nothing to worry about. But the more I started researching it and the more deaths that I saw, the more conscious I started to become.
Nationally, we are unprepared to handle everything that is happening to us. There are families that are losing their jobs and their sources of income because of everything that's happening. There are students that are having to go through drastic changes in terms of university and public schooling.
I ended up losing my job, classes got moved online, and I'm not near my family, so that's really hard. It's just me and my roommate right now, and so I feel kind of displaced in a way.
For my English 365, which is a digital literacies class, we actually came up with a contingency plan before our spring break. So thankfully, we generated those conversations beforehand, before USM announced anything, because I was kind of looking at the trends that were happening nationally with universities and realizing like, hey, I think this is going to be actually a really good possibility and probability. So why not have those conversations and foster those while we are physically in the same space as opposed to via email.
I'm currently a student, so classes got pushed online. Since I'm a senior, would be graduating.
The biggest event that got canceled was graduation for me, but there's also a bunch of other events that got canceled. So there's a bunch of redoing of things that's going on.
Whenever we think about technology, we have to start with the premise that technology is an affordance, right? That it's not accessible to everyone, that people's relationship and time and labor with technology looks completely different, that their familiarity and lack of familiarity with platforms like Discord and Zoom and WebEx looks completely different, that we can't assume that everyone has the same relationship and familiarity with these platforms. So I think that's the beginning of the conversation.
Online advantages, you can work at your own pace if permitted to. So like, I really like working ahead. I like pulling up my assignments and doing them in unproctored environments and just going for it and learning how to do things on my own. If I'm online and I'm taking classes online, then like, those things are liberties and they are, privileges that we have, and that's cool.
It gets people out of their comfort zones. It really helps people to, have a new way of learning.
I hope that everybody knows this is a real thing that's happening. Do not pay attention to anything that says this is not real. This is real. This is our everyday lives. This is probably going to take a while to get over. Please social distance.
For the safety of everybody involved, it's better just to stay home as much as possible.
Just stay calm, take it day by day, watch the news, but don't let it consume you.
Be patient, be kind, be gracious to students, to the classroom, right? Like, technology doesn't operate the same as the physical classroom space. So be patient with students.
So what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below and be sure to follow us on social media. I'm Keisha G, and this has been Southern Summarize.